Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today I'm just going to play Southeast Hammer. So sort of feel like having a blast. So I'm not sort of do all the explaining. I just sort of created this scenario as a quick one from one of the South Front maps. I don't think there's anything in particular about it, but essentially we've got all the rebels. And then we have the Syrian army with their National Defence Force. And the whole crux here is obviously the rebels hold these areas, which is very standard. And they make an assault on this town here, Tal al-Muzaria, which is repelled. I've no idea how balanced it is. The whole idea is to take that. Now, obviously, it looks as though it might be quite simple and straightforward. Just to give an overview on how I sort of put it forward. Essentially, I think these things are quite complex in the sense that you can't just start moving everything over here. You know, there's a reason why these troops are here. There's a front line, and they're all sort of holding it. So you really don't want to start moving all of these units. They've just chosen, obviously, a weak point. I mean, for example, you know, they could have attacked Konifsis or Daniba. You know, they would have been maybe a little easier, but they've obviously taken this place, maybe because it's on this road, or maybe their intel gave them the impression that it was relatively weak. You know, I think in a lot of these cases they're just opportunists, maybe just probing. You know, there's a lot of propaganda in the reports that are coming out. We don't know what happened, but anyway, so obviously I set that up, but what I'm really trying to get to here is it's all sort of fairly static. There's just these little units here. Maybe the rebels seem a little powerful, but you know they're sort of outnumbered. But what I'm trying to get to here is we've got mechanized unit up here, which in comparison suddenly starts to become, well, I when I put it in there, I sort of assumed maybe it starts to become quite powerful. It's a 2-to-1 against anything. We've got the National Defence Forces down here, which again has a battalion with the strength of 4. So when you start to actually apply this unit, and then in here we've got another Syrian mechanized unit. You know, there's these two mechanized units, 2 mechanized battalions, and an infantry battalion under there from the National Defence Forces that suddenly will sort of, I think, sway the balance. But the point, I think, you know, that I was quite when I put it together, was thinking, well, what's going to happen here? And it is that you're going to take that out, maybe take it straight out because it's quite weak, and then the Syrian player has to sort of basically respond. I think maybe is the correct word, with their sort of not necessarily dynamic units, because these are going to be a bit slow, but with their strong units, and sort of leaving all these around. Again, using the term like kids football, you know, it's when kids play football in little school, everyone chases the ball. You know, there's just this ball and like 20 kids chasing it. You know, when you grow up, you know, football teams play a little more strategically, with people staying in defence and people staying up at the front. And so anyway, things have their role. And so basically the way I assume it going is that the rebels will, who in this case the strike force is the Jabhat Fatah al-Sham units that are sort of more in this area, take this out, and then the Syrian units will then respond to take it back with their core units, maybe bringing in some of these single units, see how it goes. I'm doing too much talking now again, but the thing is, what you can't necessarily see here, and probably won't work for the first time, is that there's a lot of Syrian and Russian air power, and that was what was noted as having a big effect. So, and I have actually staggered that, so it doesn't all come on straight away, and there will be, so I think you get some Syrian units, and then on turn 3 you get some Russian units, and then on turn 7 you get some more Russian units. So you'll end up with this escalation and then a solid concentration where all 3 squadrons are active, but they're only active for about 10 turns. So between 7 and 10 you'll get 3 squadrons, and then from 10 to 17 you'll have 2, and then after 17 you'll only have 1. But that's quite a lot of air power. But they do have some air defence. I think they've got 2 companies of air defence down here. So without going any further, I mean, I do like to sort of think and concentrate, how I maybe consider how I would do it. And obviously there's this big stack here, and this is what this is for. So again, just as the Syrians are almost static in defending their front line, I think the rebels should be assumed as being static in defending their front line. So defending this place. Now these are not objectives. The white is quite new, but it's not an objective. It's just there so you can see it. So I don't really want to just sort of start being silly, but there's the strike force here which I'm going to apply. Now I think I'm going to leave this little infantry battalion sort of just sat there. Now we've got some motorized units in here. There's some motorized units. Now, what I'm sort of getting to is I really want to sort of go through this. Now, I either try and get there straight away and just attack, I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to commit this unit to move through zones of control, because it starts off in zone control. Okay, you were scaring me there. So that's moved there. Because he was starting in zone control, he can slide around. That gives me that little gap, which sort of pins me, but I think it pins him more. And I can replace that now with the motorized unit. Let's see how much movement this takes up. 4 points. That's 1.5 to move there. So that would be 3, 1.5. So I can actually get there. So clearly that's starting to. There's obviously a road missing now or something else. That's starting to give me the surround. My air defence units I'll consider in a minute, but I do want to sort of actually do something with them. So I've got 2 more motorised units. I think I'm going to keep them central. Now, I do want to sort of play it not so much historically, but at least pretend that I'm considering things historically. And I think I'm going to essentially I've got 1 infantry battalion, and I think what I want to do with that is replace the battalion that was in Tulal al-Humar there, which is just a slide around from those. This is just an exchange, and with the if I leave them there, they can be attacked, but they're still quite strong. They're still doubled up to 2, so that'd be a 1 to 2. I mean, I don't think they're really going to start attacking, but I could move this unit into there, which I'm going to sort of break my little rule there, because I don't see any reason why they shouldn't move. They're still capable of defending Al-Gashibia. I'm not going to start sort of moving these up. I think they're all sort of there for reasons. There could be supply lines or whatever. I think that's a reasonable move. So I think that's my opening move on that. I mean, I haven't done much maths on this yet, but I'm pretty sure, as I had half an eye open on it, that I'm going to get that. I mean, that's like 3, that's 9, 10, 11 to 1. That's going to be a 7 to 1. mean, I really didn't even need that much, did I? Let's think about this. This unit has to go in because he's moved the most. I definitely think he's probably not moved as much. That will give me a 6-1, plus the surround might up that up by 0.2, 10%, 0.6. That would be giving me a 7-1, I think. That would give me 7.2 to 1. Well, that was a pretty bad die roll. I could have hopefully got an elimination, but that's good enough. So essentially, time goes so quick. It's really nearly time to end. The opening move has successfully caused this Syrian company to retreat, and they're at Depression 2 from Tal al-Muzar. Now, the reason I did it with the 2 units, because this unit now still has some movement. This unit has no movement left, but these 2 units still have some movement. So what I can do is move into there. He has movement as well. Oh, that's that old. Because he moved into a zone of control, I would have been better off putting him into the combat. He can't move. It's a little thing about the games. I'll have to maybe remember at some point, maybe next year, to actually sort that out. It's a bit of an odd one. He still thinks he's in zone control, so he's stuck. But I'm not sure I'll be able to figure that out. I won't worry about it too much. Now, if I could have moved him, that would have been better, because what I was going to do is put him into there, and then just try and push these a little further away, upping up his fatigue there. But I think they've pretty much sort of achieved their objective. So historically, they've sort of taken this town. Now the question is, moving on to the next turn for the Syrians, because they do take it back according to the little story, is how quickly can we recapture that from this sort of, this rebel advance, and what do we do it with? So I think the first thing to do, let's see whether we get the first turn blues. I can't remember anything. Okay, so there's 2 air defense units against this, but we're going to start off with the air power, which seems to be working on the first turn. Maybe I'll fix that. Three to 1 odds, and only an exchange. So they're at D1 now. So that's better than nothing. And we've got some units to maybe counter-attack. We've got 2 strength points here, but we've got 1 strength point here, which we could maybe get a 1-to-1 there. But obviously, we've got these mechanized units, or this mechanized unit, and then we've got the battalion here, which we can consider to similarly be on high alert. Now, again, I've not got this far yet, so I do want to maybe take a few moments to think. I'm not sure I want to get onto another video. We've got a minute left, but the thing with this, the movement's not as fast. It's going to take a while to get there, and as such, what I'm thinking is, are these rows significant? I mean, to travel down this road would bring me into the north of these units. To come around here, I'd be able to shoot past the zones of controls and come around into here, which I think is what I'm going to do. And that's it. So he can move 3 along the road. So 1, 2. Next turn he'll be able to get there and probably be able to engage in combat because he'll still have a fraction of movement left. But I've got only a fraction of a few seconds left, so I think I'll leave it at that. I'll probably do another video. Yeah, so I'll maybe see you in a few seconds. Okay. So, 2, 3, I'm going to move this little unit along this road. See a bit of movement there. Oh no, look at that. 0.6 is not enough. Let's move this other unit here. Now I was sort of contemplating what I'm going to do, and quite honestly, I don't want to make too much of a meal out of it. So I'm going to take this mechanised unit. And I think the question was, do I make an assault straight off? Or not? So that would give me 4, 5, 6, but one of those is slightly depressed, so that would be a 1-to-1. So if I get this other unit in there, well, that would probably be a 2-to-1 with the surround. If I thought of that earlier, I could have gone this way and got there and got another 10%. And I will open this up. Okay, and I am going to try and take this back. Now, before I do that, let's just look at it. The reason being that if I take it, the rebels probably won't be able to take it back. If I fail, they'll probably be able to hold it, not indefinitely, but with massive, well, relatively massive numbers. So this could be the most important counter-attack. Now I could hold it off until I get the other units in there. But I've already this mechanised unit here, probably get down there next turn. It seems fairly well balanced, but I think I have to go for it. Now, so you've got 3, so that's 2-to-1. And to be quite honest, it's probably not worth putting those in. Six times 6.6, 7.6, 8.6, and 8.6. I need another 0.1. However, they are depressed, so they are only, and they're depressed, and the defense is 2. Hang on, the defense is 2. That's thrown me a bit. So 6 is 3-to-1. 4-to-1. The surround cancels out the depression, so it's going to be probably a 4-to-1. That airstrike was pretty useful in getting the edge off of that unit. I'm feeling quite confident with a 4-to-1. And I was going to sort of try and gamble, hazard a guess as to how accurate my prediction would be. And obviously it's a 5-to-1, so we came up with 10.78. How did they get that? So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I know how that's happened. It goes beyond my ability to calculate, because essentially they were just basically motorized, and I had mechanized units. The mechanized unit had in his own right a factor of like 1.5, so he would have been 4, 6. So that sort of almost you know, all adds up, but I can't be bothered to really think about how that worked. So that unit has now retreated now with depression 3, which gives him 1 permanent depression. And so what we have here is a fairly accurate portrayal of the historic course of action. The Jabhat Fatal al-Sham motorized units attacked Tal al-Muzariya, forcing the Syrian infantry company to retreat. However, they were swiftly rebutted by the actions of a Syrian mechanized infantry unit with support from National Defence Force infantry companies and associated Syrian infantry companies, forcing the Jabhat Fatah al-Sham rebels to retreat, with support, obviously, with the help and support of the Syrian Air Force. So everything's going sort of as it did historically in theory. We will now move back into there and retake it. I don't think anything else is going to have any movement. No. Now, here, I think I'm going to actually move this unit into there, because otherwise it is pretty weak there. 2 defense is slightly stronger. It can still be taken out, but it's going to be an effort. So that's everything moved. I'm not going to move anything else because everything else is playing a role. Although what I will do is I'll move this National Defence Force unit into Hama as a token of security for Hama, and end that turn. So it's now the rebels' turn. Now we've got a tough cookie in there now. And the thing to bear in mind is that mechanized units are tougher against infantry and motorized units, etc., soft targets, but they're actually also harder to attack. So, and I can't remember the odds. I'd have to look at the rules for that, which is strange. I've never really looked at the rules, but I think I wrote it in there. I think the point I may be trying to get to is that I don't think it's worth attacking, and I don't want to just attack for the hell of it. Let me think. Let me maybe look at the rules. No, I don't know what these rules mean. Who wrote these words? What's all this? Okay, so unit modifications in combat. Certain units will have modifications to their combat strengths depending on the combination of units involved. Notice no spelling mistakes. This was written by an expert. The unit combinations are infantry versus mechanized 0.75. So we're at 0.75 attacking this unit. So he's worth 4. So I've got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. There's some units in there, I didn't know they were there. 11 against 4. 11 times 0.75, so that's going to be 7.5. That's going to be, let's say, 8. So it's going to be 2 to 1. 8 times 20%. 8. Give me 0.8, 1.6, 8, 9.6. It's not going to be enough to make it up to 3 to 1. So it'll be a 2 to 1 at a push. But I have one ace up my sleeve. That's that. So that gives me plus 30%. I'm not even going to rack my brain doing the numbers. It should be a 2, possibly a 3 to 1. In your own time. Connecting. Oh! It was a 3 to 1, and that is, and the numbers came to 14.3. So that wasn't so far off a 4 to 1. That's 30%. I didn't think it would work like that, but that was a good die roll. So in this situation, from considering a retreat, which is pretty much, I was thinking, oh, I know how this is going to go. I do this all the time. You just push it because you want to play the game, and I mean, should have retreated there, and I pushed it because I was playing the game on video, and that unit has been eliminated. Now that's significant because that was pretty much the tough cookie. I mean, combined with the other mechanized unit, the Syrians had a real advantage. They've actually lost their advantage, and I don't think the rebels are going to start doing other things like taking out Al Salamia and all these other little places. But I'm not sure that they can really do much to stop a sudden surge of rebel units. I've only got 2 minutes left, and I'm not going to do another video just to sort of figure out what I'm going to do. But I'm going to indulge myself here and just think, maybe whilst talking. But I think the thing to do would be to just not much eliminate all these units, but give them a bit of a shunt back. See, I could attack these two. There's only 2 strength points in there. No depressions. So that would be 1 to 1. If I could get that in there, that would be 6 against that. Would be a 3 to 1. I could push that around there, get a 3 to 1 on that. Put this unit. He's got no movements, but I could get these units in there. He couldn't move because he didn't know the movements. So I could get similar odds against that. Well, there's only a few seconds left, so let's see. Now this is basically a follow through just to give me some extra space. Is it impetuous? Oh, impetuous indeed. I can't say it's the will of Allah, can I? They well and truly now dominate. Well, could have sort of sat here and uploaded and I'll do another video just to continue. There's much more to do, but there is, in the sense that I was playing in a more relaxed state. I think the question now is if what had happened, would the Syrian army actually try and retake it, or would they just sit back and hold the ground that they do have? The ace being that they do have the air power to support themselves, so he's not got any movement. He's not got any movement. He's got a little bit. He's got none. He's got one. So I think I will move him into there. You told me you had some movement. Oh no, you can't move. It's because it's desert. It's about 1.2 to get across that. So yeah. So really, I'm just playing this to explore really what happens next. Now, again, it's sort of thing. Well, it might be really tempting to take out Al Salamia, but it's not an objective, and so I'm not going to sort of try and do that. But in theory, the rebels could really move forward. I mean, they've taken out 3 units. And I don't have a history of what was happening. They took out that big mechanized unit and 2 small companies with minimal losses. So I'm not going to adjust any of this, but they've had a remarkable victory there. So we're only on turn 1 there. Look, we're coming up to turn 2. So what do the Syrians do now? Unfortunately, they really need to protect Al Salamia. And it has to be done just to keep the sort of integrity of the activity in play. Now, maybe the best way to do that would be to sort of, you can see that the objective is now neutralized, or at least it's not owned by the Syrians now. So we've got some movement left there. That at least gives some protection for Al Salamia. Now I'm thinking, what unit down here has depressions? Depression 3. That's interesting. That unit is depressed. So I think I'm going to at least try and pummel that a little. DR would be perfect. A DE would be even better. So, did that really delete? I didn't know the air power could delete things. So, it's not all roses for the rebels. They've just lost a motorized battalion by the Syrian Air Force. So that will change things. I mean, they weren't really that tired before, but that, that obviously it was a DE result that got it. What with them being 70%, they were a little weaker, so that wasn't expected. A DR would have been what I was hoping for. So, point is, the rebels really don't have the edge anymore after having lost a significant unit, which gives the Syrians, I think, a lot more confidence going forward. Now let's see, what's his movement? We've still got quite a lot. His defense is 2. He should have come around here and up there. I'm sort of doing this on the fly, really, not really thinking too much, but I don't want to get an edge around that. I'm feeling lucky. Gives me a 20%. Five to 1. Defender eliminated. It's a real bloodbath. I mean, there's just so many units just being eliminated. So, I mean, this is, sit back and have a cigarette time, I think. Not that I smoke. So much has happened. And whilst I was uploading other video, I was marvelling, as I often do, at the scale of how so much can happen in. I mean, this is a small map, and it's already larger than is required. All the actions taking place in this small thing. I mean, if I did a game that its map was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hexes by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 6, you would think that's silly, but all the action has pretty much taken place in there. I mean, the only thing that has changed is some of the motorized unit has sort of come along here. I mean, I haven't even moved this unit yet. I don't even know why I didn't think of moving that. This is kind of crazy, really. How much movement does he have left? Enough for another battle, but not much. No movement. Well, I mean, they're both big units, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3. That's going to be at least a 4 to 1, possibly a 5 to 1 with that, possibly a 6 to 1 with this unit. 6 to 1, maybe a 7 to 1, I doubt it, but there's certainly a big attack. Another DE, 6 to 1. So it's actually this third round. I keep sort of thinking, well, that's it. When the rebels were attacking, I didn't really want to do another attack, and then they eliminated that motorized unit. And now, I mean, just looking at it, the rebels don't exist. They just lost 2 big units, 2 central units to their main assault. And now, looking at it, well, have they lost 2? Have they lost 3? How did they lose that? I'd have to watch the video over to figure it out, because I'm pretty sure they had 3 motorized units. Oh, that's right. The airstrike took that one out. These units came down here, took this one out. This unit The Syrian Air Force eliminated the unit in Tal al Muzarriah. The combined efforts of the National Defence Force Infantry Company and a Syrian Army Mechanised Infantry unit eliminated a rebel Jabhat Fatah al-Sham motorised battalion here, and this combined arms of the same battle-weary Syrian Army Mechanised Infantry Battalion and National Defence Force Infantry Battalion against this third element of the Jabhat Fatah al-Sham offensive units, took out this I've lost the plot there, took out this rebel Jabhat Fatah al-Sham motorised unit there. So those were the three units, and those three units compromised the entire offensive force for the campaign against Tal al-Mazhiri. So much so that they don't have the offensive force that they started off with. They're only left now with the bare bones of the defensive forces, and that happened all in one turn. We're only on turn 2. All that action has taken place in there, and now all of a sudden the Syrian army clearly have the upper hand. And I wasn't going to do another turn. I thought that was it. I thought the Syrian army, I thought the rebels would just roll up and take everything, and it's quite dynamic, really. So no movement, no movement, no movement, no movement, no movement, and he should have some movement. Now, I don't think that I want to commit him into there, because he could still do a 4-to-1 attack. It's best to actually leave it empty. So I'm not going to move anything else, because everything else, as I said at the beginning, it's got a purpose. I've left this area here possibly a bit too weak, but I think I can hold it back now. Look at that, time just flies. Look at that, it's already the end of the video. Can't believe that. Okay, so the rebels now, I mean, they could do one more spoiling attack. I mean, they could hold this. It's only 2 minutes. I'm basically going to fall them back. I'm going to hold that line there, and Syrian army, acknowledging that they have won, will reoccupy Tal al-Muzarriah. They will reoccupy, not that they ever lost it, al-Salamira. And I'm not going to go back into Daniba yet, because I still want to hold this. I mean, there's still it's not a large force, but there's 2 infantry battalions in there. It's not insignificant. But it's an uneasy, not so much a truce, but the battle is over this, so there's no imperative, there's no requirement to suddenly start advancing. With this unit, we can help to recapture this place and really reinforce that. So there's no way that is now going to go back into rebel hands. And just for the hell of it, we'll carry a strike here. That was an exchange, and the Russian air power didn't get in, and a little glitch there. in this first turn. That's it.